Is a low test score an automatic ding by top business schools? Absolutely not. There are many ways to mitigate a lower than average GMAT or GRE score, and in onTrack by mbaMission, we actually dedicate an entire module to mitigating a variety of weaknesses in your MBA stats, whether it's a low test score or a low GPA or other academic weaknesses. In the following sample lesson, I'm giving you all the ways you can overcome that low GMAT or GRE score. Check it out. You studied hard for your test, but didn't do as well as you'd hoped. Take a deep breath and let's discuss your options. The good news is that there are more avenues available to you than you might realize. First of all, you might consider taking the test again. You should know that you can take the GMAT Focus 5 times in a rolling 12-month period and 8 times in your life. If you've taken the GMAT Classic exam twice, now that it's been retired, you can take the GMAT Focus up to 6 times. So that's 8 total attempts across the 2 tests. Meanwhile, if you're struggling with the GRE, you can take that exam 5 times in a 12-month period with no lifetime limit. Be aware that most applicants will take their chosen test more than once. In fact, taking a test 2 or even 3 times is common, and the AdComs will accept your best score rather than averaging them down. You really have nothing to lose and everything to gain by taking a test more than once. So if you feel that you have a better score in you, try again. At some point, though, your failure to excel on your chosen test might be telling you something. You might have simply hit a wall and your scores are not going to go higher. So let's assume that you've completely exhausted yourself and don't anticipate doing better on a test if you were to retake it. Maybe now consider an alternative. Maybe you switch tests. If you took the GRE, perhaps try the GMAT Focus. And if you took the GMAT Focus, you can try the GRE. Some applicants just do better on the other test because some aspect of that other test just speaks to them. If you've been struggling with the GMAT, the GRE might be easier for you to get accepted with. Yet another alternative is to take the EA or executive assessment, but not all schools accept this test. So be sure to check whether your target program does before you move ahead with this option. By taking the EA, you're basically removing your test score from the admissions equation. Students' EA scores don't factor into an average that the AdComs truly care about. So you only need to show that you can do well enough. Similarly, you might want to look into test optional programs. If you're granted a test waiver, you can avoid any damage that a low test score might do to your candidacy. I'll talk more about this strategy in our next video. Last but not least, you might want to reconsider your school choices. Yes, this isn't ideal, but if your test isn't working out for you and your score puts you in the bottom 10% of your target program score range, or in the danger zone, where you're near the low end of the 80% range, and you really want to be in business school, well, you might need to adjust your expectations. If you're determined to get your MBA, you'll need to apply to some schools where your stats ensure that you're in the running to be accepted. This means you need to identify programs where your test scores and grades are pretty close to the median, or where your GPA is high enough to compensate as much as possible for your low test score. Although your GPA won't solve the problem entirely, it can sometimes help to mitigate the effects of a problematic test score. If you're struggling with a low score, I encourage you again to contact us to schedule a free consultation so one of our mbaMission consultants can discuss your options with you in more depth. We want to make sure that you have the right strategy in place for navigating this element of your profile, that you have the most fitting schools on your list, and that you're directionally oriented towards success. This is just one of 8 lessons. 8 lessons on mitigating weaknesses in your MBA stats. And on top of that, we have a dozen lessons to help you determine what exactly a strong score or GPA is, how to interpret your stats, and what some of the non-quantitative stats are. If you haven't taken an exam yet, we have lessons to help you determine which to take and how to best prepare. As you can tell, onTrack by mbaMission is robust, even in just this one area of the application process. Take our 2-minute questionnaire to get started with onTrack. You'll receive your custom learning path and can start or continue your MBA application journey with me.